Most people think optionality is freedom, but financially, optionality is something much more specific. Optionality is the ability to make decisions without being forced into them. The ability to change jobs, relocate, reduce stress, survive economic pressure, invest during downturns, adapt strategically, and choose future pathways from a position of strength. And the most important realization is this: optionality is forecastable. Because optionality emerges directly from liquidity, leverage, contribution margin, solvency, cash flow generation, and structural flexibility. So in this episode, we use a fully integrated household forecast workbook to forecast not just future income, but future freedom itself. Everything begins with the financial statements. We now display the fully integrated household operating system using 4 interconnected financial statements. In the top left, we have the personal income statement. This statement measures economic performance. It shows income, expenses, taxes, interest, depreciation, and net income. Importantly, the income statement reveals how the household behaves operationally. In the top right, we have the contribution income statement. This statement recognizes expenses by behavior. Expenses become fixed, variable, mixed, financing fixed, and financing variable. And this allows us to forecast degree of lifestyle leverage, degree of financial leverage, and degree of combined leverage. This is critically important because contribution analysis reveals how sensitive the system is to changes in income. In the bottom left, we have the net worth statement. This statement measures structural stability. It shows liquidity, investments, liabilities, solvency, and evolving equity. This is where optionality becomes visible structurally. In the bottom right, we have our cash flow statement. This statement measures movement. It reveals operating cash flow or lifestyle cash flow, investing cash flow, financing cash flow, liquidity creation, and liquidity destruction. Cash flow determines whether optionality expands or contracts through time. We begin forecasting optionality with the income statement and contribution income statement. First, we conduct vertical analysis. This expresses each expense as a percentage of gross income. And immediately, we begin identifying behavior patterns. Examples include EI expense scales with income, CPP scales with income, groceries partially scale with inflation, utilities inflate gradually, insurance rises with inflation pressure, depreciation remains stable, and interest expense follows debt schedules. This becomes critically important because different variables require different forecasting methods, as described in past videos. Now we move to the contribution income statement. We apply a 25% income shock, and now the system reveals fragility. We observe contribution margin compression, declining net income, shrinking liquidity creation, and reduced optionality. This allows us to forecast degree of lifestyle leverage, degree of financial leverage, and degree of combined leverage. And now, small income declines become visibly amplified through the structure. Now we move to the net worth statement and cash flow statement. The net worth statement reveals how optionality is stored structurally. We conduct vertical analysis using assets as the base. Now we can observe liquidity reserves, investment concentration, debt exposure, vehicle values, and leverage structures as percentages of total assets. We also forecast current ratio, quick ratio, debt to asset ratio, debt to income ratio, solvency ratios, and liquidity runway. The cash flow statement reveals how optionality moves through time. We observe operating cash flow, financing cash flow, investing cash flow, free cash generation, savings rate, and net liquidity accumulation. This is critically important because optionality requires cash generation, not merely reported net income. Now we begin forecasting, base year through base year plus 5. Importantly, not every variable uses the same forecasting method. For the income forecast, we assume 3% annual income growth. Now, income-driven variables scale accordingly. Examples include EI expense, CPP contributions, and income taxes. Inflation-based forecasting, some variables grow primarily through inflation pressure. Examples include groceries, utilities, insurance, fuel, and subscriptions. Some variables evolve through formal schedules, as mentioned in more detail in another video. Interest expense is determined through amortization schedules, debt balances, and interest rate assumptions. Mortgage balances decline through principal repayment schedules. Vehicle net book value declines through depreciation schedules, and depreciation expense remains consistent annually. Revolving lines of credit remain stable balances with interest-only payments. This is an assumption that you'll have to make. This creates persistent leverage pressure. CPP equity increases annually at the employer's CPP contribution rate based on projected income. CPP assets increase at 2 times the CPP contribution rate based on projected income. Remember, based on another video earlier on in the seasons, that the CPP contribution or the CPP asset increases not only from the payroll deductions for the individual, but also the employer's portion. So that CPP asset grows at 2 times the CPP contribution rate. Savings balances grow steadily through positive operating cash flow and retained liquidity. Now we observe how optionality evolves through time. The contribution statement reveals DLL, DFL, DCL, contribution margin strength, and structural flexibility. The net worth statement reveals liquidity, solvency, leverage, and resilience. The cash flow statement reveals liquidity creation, sustainability, and adaptation capacity. And now the system becomes predictive. We can forecast whether future choices expand or contract. This is the true purpose of forecasting optionality. Not merely forecasting wealth, but forecasting future decision freedom. Most people think optionality is abstract, but optionality becomes very real the moment life presents a decision. Because every major purchase, commitment, or lifestyle expansion either widens future pathways or narrows them. And once we begin forecasting leverage, liquidity, contribution margin, cash flow, solvency, and future flexibility, we can finally ask, not emotionally, but structurally, can you actually afford this? In the next mini-series, we begin applying the household operating system to real-world financial decisions. We will explore car decisions, how vehicle purchases reshape cash flow, depreciation, liquidity, debt pressure, and future optionality. Mortgage decisions, how housing choices alter lifestyle leverage, solvency, liquidity, and long-term system flexibility. We'll look at lifestyle expansion, why rising income often creates structural rigidity instead of freedom. Subscription creep, how recurring micro-obligations quietly compound into reduced flexibility and compressed contribution margin. And income volatility decisions, how unstable income changes liquidity requirements, risk tolerance, and financial system design. Because ultimately, financial intelligence is not merely understanding money, it is understanding how today's decisions reshape tomorrow's freedom.